Hello, I'm Arjun Sabharwal at the University of Toledo Libraries. As Digital Initiative Librarian, I've been responsible for managing the University of Toledo Digital Repository, or UTDR, which is our institutional repository, IR. You'll hear these abbreviations throughout my presentation. My IR work has focused on developing community-focused open educational resources for use by faculty, students, and staff and others. These resources include digitized heritage collections, contributed faculty and student research, and more recently, virtual exhibitions or digital versions of past physical exhibitions. This presentation joins two aspects of my IR work. The first one is to maintain a digital preservation program using a trustworthy digital repository, and second, to establish curatorial agency and practices to facilitate user learning. And then I will demonstrate approaches I've taken in the UTDR. A community-focused approach to curating IR contents comes with multiple expectations and assumptions which include, but are not limited to, the following. First, digital repositories need to function as trustworthy technologies to preserve and disseminate digital content created for research and teaching purposes. Requirements for trustworthy repositories span metadata practices, preservation standards, and policies. Second, as vehicles for outreach and engagement, IRs need to serve communities across and beyond the university campus. Many times, these communities may be interrelated through memberships, partnerships, and collaborative activities, so these boundaries are often blurred and uncleared. Third, just about all IR contents can be learning objects as long as there are curricular frameworks for their utilizations at academic institutions and other didactic settings such as workshops, community workshops, for instance. Learning objects can include multiple types of educational resources in the public domain or copyrighted materials released under appropriate Creative Commons licenses. Curatorial agency comprises an important framework for creating and maintaining educational resources in an IR. A number of definitions for curatorial agency have circulated in disciplines like art and literature. For present purposes, however, curatorial agency refers to the extent of curators' involvement in preservation and level of responsibility, while mediating between digital content and audiences with authority within specific curation spaces. In this case, curation space spans the entire digital repository. There are also other commitments, especially in the face of migrations and changes in technology, standards, and media formats. Curatorial agency is also necessary to reinforce the notions of context and meaning in digital objects discovered during searching and browsing. Establishing connections between the discovered items and those who created it, as well as other records in the same collection, can help in the initial stages of contextualizing. Creating rich metadata records is helpful, if not required or critical, to ensure that the resources discovered facilitates user learning. Curatorial agencies extends into IR work where it manifests itself in metadata and design practices which contribute to representing context. There are two actors in this environment: curators who leverage metadata and design to represent information in the relevant context, and users who rely on metadata and the resource location to understand context and meaning. Let me break this down. First, metadata records can contain rich descriptive and contextual information such as provenance, spatial, and temporal coverage. In some platforms, specific metadata values can appear as links to the parent collection for users to follow and explore other items in that collection. Second, information architecture is also an important vehicle in curatorial agency, whereby it can facilitate the navigation of digital content in a repository or multiple sites. A benefit of some digital repository platforms is the systematic arrangement of digital items into hierarchies of communities, collections, and subcollections. The descriptive and contextual information convey meaning through relationship with other items, as well as organizations, offices, academic units, and others responsible for creating those records. Through a digital representation of the curation space, information architecture can facilitate optimal navigation of digital content in two ways. First, by leveraging the system design of a platform with its own built-in hyperlinks, and two, by adding new hyperlinks to facilitate the navigation across the repository, collections, and even external domains with the related content, that means. Contextual literacy can be a topic in itself to explore. For present purposes, suffice it to say that it can contribute to an improved design through a combination of method practices and design approaches to improve user experience with navigating digital collections and archives. The UTDR has a 25-year history in preserving and providing digital access to community educational resources such as archival collections, yearbooks, newspapers, and research papers. More recently, virtual exhibitions were created in the UTDR that were previously developed as standalone web projects using Dreamweaver in order to provide digital access to information presented in physical exhibitions after those came down. Although the repository underwent several migrations and utilized several platforms, as you can see in the screenshots, the commitment to preserve and disseminate community educational resources has continued. Next, I will present on how I approach design and metadata in the ensuing slides. Structure and context are closely related in the UTDR. As you can see in this slide, DSpace can represent collections in some context through its system hierarchy. Items make up collections, which in turn comprise specific communities and subcommunities that represent the contributors, or a broader range of collections such as student posters, theses and dissertations, and other projects arranged by academic disciplines. In this case, academic unique collections is a community with a broad scope of collections contributed by faculty and possibly others in those academic units. These hierarchies can vary by institutions because of the structural uniqueness of institutions, and the hierarchies can reveal those unique organizational structures. It is a matter of diligence, of course, to update the IR structures and descriptions when the institution undergoes institutional changes. A user discovering an item in the IR can follow the platform system links to and identify authors, contributors, and related items in the same collection. As you can see in this slide, DSpace architecture can also enable users to identify the parent collection appearing in the metadata fields like DC collection or DC relation is part of. That's because we use Dublin Core. Items discovered through the internet searches and even AI prompts can point users to the collection level descriptions, which in turn lead to information on the record creators, authors, and other items in the collection. On the left, you see the encircled collection, and on the right, you can see the description with other items in the same collection. You can also follow the breadcrumb trail at the top to access the community and subcommunity associated with that item. DSpace can represent context for digital surrogates of archival records within single collections instead of series, subseries, boxes, and folders like you would see with physical collections in a vault. The system hierarchy in digital repositories can point users to higher and lower levels and support bottom-up navigation as well. DSpace's structured arrangement of digital content through its hierarchical structure is suitable to represent data in context because of the association of digital objects within collections and communities identifying the record creator. In this slide, the discovery of a War Department letter can point a local history into the collection with links to the finding aid and related websites, which happens to be a virtual exhibition from 2000 in this case. Navigating digital content benefits from an information architecture that effectively supports navigation across digital repositories and from one system to another for more detailed information using added hyperlinks. Those other systems could be external websites and platforms like ArchiveSpace, which we happen to use. Virtual exhibitions are different from collections in digital repositories in that they represent the theme and narrative in the physical exhibition. Items in exhibitions are thematically related and not just by fonts, provenance, and departmental origins. As you can see in this slide, links become curatorial devices for reinforcing those thematic relationships of exhibits as they were originally installed in the physical exhibition. These links present an option for visitors to follow an original exhibition's narrative. This slide shows an opening page with the exhibition description, credits, and series of links prepared for programmed viewing, but viewers do not have to stick with those, just as you would have the freedom to move around in a museum's gallery. In this slide, you can see a series of images demonstrating how viewers can navigate between collections, each of which represents an exhibit case. While the relationship between any two collections or exhibit cases is not readily visible at the top when browsing the digital repository. These links bring specific collections into thematic relationships that underlie the exhibition's narrative. A combination of prepared and system links can help viewers proceed through the exhibition as it was planned, while also providing for some flexibility. In conclusion, context, meaning, and contextual literacy remain important in an environment where generative AI will transform information-seeking habits and likely without the benefit of adequate representation of context. In other words, Gen AI has not fixed an old problem with internet searches. Context lend meaning to digital content discovered, harvested, or otherwise located on the internet. Without proper interpretation of internet resources, which is the researcher's responsibility, meaningful and objective analysis and interpretation may be more challenging. The same concept applies to open educational resources. Viewers can access, read, and use full-text searching to understand more about a topic and learn more about the author along the way. Regardless of the audience and purpose, planning the curation of community educational resources is necessary all the time. My time is up. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me.